Done a lot of climbing and I'm not even at the keep yet. The keep, the highest, strongest point of this castle, built on top of the Norman Motte. These medieval castles weren't built for people of my height, that's for sure. It's always so exciting up a spiral staircase, and this is a great view. Look at this, the keep, the stone keep, the beating heart of the castle. This was the absolute strong point. Built out of stone about 1140, there was a keep here, but it was made out of wood in William the Conqueror's time, the early Norman conquest. And this is on the highest point of ground you can see for miles around here. This ultimately is where the defenders would come and make their final stand when they were besieged. And the castle was besieged 3 times in its long history. The keep had good strong walls, one heavily guarded entrance. The entrance is right under my feet now, and these were called brettis doors. So they were a place where you'd, as people were trying to get into the castle, get into this final ring of defence, you'd be able to hurl down projectiles. You'd throw down all sorts of stuff. You'd throw down human mess. You'd throw down sticks, stones, spears, javelins, but also you'd throw down boiling water, not oil. You didn't waste oil, it was too valuable, it's very useful. Boiling water did the job just as well. Think about it, terrible, inflicting terrible damage on the people down below, the attackers trying to get in. But come around here, let's keep having a look at this round keep. Perfectly round keep, quite unusual. One of the things that makes Arundel Castle particularly famous. So you get the sea along all that way, you control all this countryside, you can see the sea down there, and then up there you can see north into the South Downs there. And I say there are Norman castles that way as well, so you've got the whole country on an interconnecting grid of castles. But come over here, this is the important point. Everyone always asks you, where did people go to the toilet in the Middle Ages? Well, the answer is right here. This is called the garderobe. It was the toilet. If you come and have a look right in there, you'll see today there's some mesh and some bars across it. You don't fall down, but the human, the wees and the poos all went down there where they lay, particularly in the summer, they lay in a big stinky part at the bottom, which was big smelly and attracted lots of flies as well. But let's keep going around the edge of this keep. There's a wonderful well down there, burrowed 45 metres through the motte on which this castle sits. And you can see why. This is basically what you have to build when your neighbours absolutely hate you. The Norman conquerors came here, and with only a few thousand people, several thousand people, they managed to maintain control over a country of a couple of million people. And they did that by using force multipliers, by using stone and cement to erect these virtually impenetrable castles. So relatively small numbers of knights could gather in these castles, maintain their food, maintain their strength, and then sally forth into the countryside to nip any rebellion in the bud. And it was often said in the post-conquest period that the English would often control the countryside. They could swarm around, they could cause trouble, but the Normans controlled the castles, and they could restore order. It might be long and bloody, but eventually they would do it. Right, let's try and head right up to the tower. Just climbing up onto the roof here. It never gets boring exploring castles like this and being given the access to all the little rooftops. Look at this view, it's extraordinary. There you can see the round keep right beneath us. This is the highest point of Arundel Castle, round keep there. And outside that you get the North Bailey. This castle's unusual for having 2 baileys. So you get the motte in the middle with the castle on top, the modern sort of, the keep on top, and these baileys which are like big fortified yards outside, and this one stretches right the way over there. So you can see multiple layers of defence. That made this castle such a effective defensive proposition. And what I like about being up here as well is you just get this sense of transition from the coast, the sea, the flat lands by the shore, up into the slightly more wild, higher ground of the South Downs. And you can see this was the challenge that this area presented to the Normans. As they advanced inland from the coast, that's Normandy that way. The ships could be in Normandy in a day. Although it seems like a long way away now, actually the English Channel was the link. It was that was the difficult land to traverse up there. And the Normans went through this country building a network of castles every few miles, making sure that there was no important area of this new kingdom that they were trying to stamp their control over that didn't have a castle, a strong point. So Norman knights could ride out, they could see a lot, they had a huge advantage of sight, they could see the neighbouring villages. They could see if there was trouble. They could ride out within a day on their horses and then ride back, and there would always be a castle which they could retreat to in the evening. It's an awesome method of control.